of areas like Eatonville. So, obviously a lot of celebrations there, but to see some of those other communities as well get involved and have celebrations, what does that mean to see it spread throughout so many different communities in our area?
Yeah, it really even makes me I mean I really could almost tear up from emotion because it means so many people are still with it. They weren't in it from the moment when they first started to meet holistically in the nation almost 5 years ago is when more people started holistically celebrating Juneteenth. In Texas, it had been a big holiday for years, and then it matriculated to cities like Milwaukee and Chicago, but to see Central Florida celebrate in such a grand fashion, it's touching. You see more people that care and they understand that this is a significance for healing and growth in the nation. So we're headed in the right direction in Central Florida. And salute to all the community advocates out there who may not get the opportunity to be on channels like Fox 35. They're doing the work every day. They're on the ground. They're notifying people. They're awakening their communities, and it's a great thing. And we thank you for coverage from stations like yourself as well.
Russell, when we talk about the significance of this day, independence and equality and freedom, civil rights, all of those things. Why in 2025 is it so important that we still commemorate this and keep this in mind, moving forward?
Well, every group of people on the planet deserves to celebrate independence. Every group of people on the planet deserves to celebrate independence. In doing so, we've highlighted July 4th, 1776, for almost 250 years. The problem being is that on that date in 1776, a majority of my ancestors and people with melanin like me were still enslaved peoples. So it only is right that we celebrate Juneteenth when more people were liberated. And again, that's why it's so critical that people learn this and understand it. And if we don't learn, people without knowledge of self are destined to repeat mistakes of the past. So it's important that we embrace this history, we celebrate the advances, and we continue to move forward as one group of people.
All right. Russell, what's the bottom line here? What do you want people to know and to keep in mind on this Juneteenth, National Independence Day?
Yes, I want people to keep in mind that Juneteenth is here to stay. It should be a day that people are taking off in different municipalities, different counties, at the state level, at the federal level. We should be enjoying, we should be learning, we should be growing in culture. We understand that the history, this Black history, is a part of American history. It's a part of the fabric of the nation. And again, it's a great part of healing and embracing. It's not competing with any other holidays. It's an additional thing. And I think the purpose of what great people do in government is you add great things to help and reach people. You don't tear things apart. You add things to help people and embrace more people. So embrace a brother, embrace a sister. We're all brothers and sisters at the end of the day, or the different fathers, friends, fathers and mothers, but we are all one people.
That was Russell Drake, who is the founder and CEO of Build Black Daily, also a local activist, talking about the importance of Juneteenth, which we celebrate today on this June 19th. That's going to do it for us here on Florida Live. We appreciate you joining us today and every day, 2 o'clock, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. We hope you make plans to join us tomorrow. I'll be out, but we'll also have an hour of news covering the state here. So we hope you make plans for that. If you're watching us on Fox Local Orlando, we'll be back at 4 o'clock with another hour of Fox 35 News Plus. In the meantime, have a great day.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, good afternoon to you and welcome into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer and we appreciate you joining us on this Thursday afternoon live on Fox Local and on YouTube. It is 4 o'clock and that means it's time for today's Top 4 at 4, where we break down 4 of the big stories that we're tracking in the Fox 35 newsroom this afternoon. And joining me for today's Top 4 at 4, Fox 35 news anchor and reporter Marlisa Goldsmith. And Marlisa, we're lucky enough to have you on back-to-back days here.
Hey, 2 days in a row. I'm doing something right, Garrett.
Not the microphone, but everything else, yes.
See, here's the thing. We don't ever go back in time and talk about things. Okay. We're looking forward. We're looking ahead.
Okay. Well, let's dive into this. And story number 1 here, where an Orlando high school tutor facing charges.
Yes, this is a tutor and former teacher in Orlando. He's been arrested on charges of lewd touching and attempted sexual battery on a victim over the age of 12. This is 31-year-old Garrett Tatum, who you're looking at here. He was fired by Bishop Moore Catholic High School after a student reported the former engineering teacher inappropriately touched her during a tutoring session. The school says they immediately notified police and they terminated Tatum. Bishop Moore Catholic School is a private Catholic school in College Park and within the Diocese of Orlando. Fox 35 reached out to the diocese for a statement regarding his arrest, and here's what they told us. They said, quote, Garrett Tatum was a teacher at Bishop Moore High School until May 16th, 2025, when he was terminated for inappropriate interactions and conduct with a student. Investigators say they haven't found any sort of evidence that points to any additional victims out there, Garrett, but the investigation is still active.
That is certainly the good news in all of this. If they don't think there are any more victims, we certainly hope that is the case. But again, very serious allegations against that man. Story number 2, this one out of Brevard County, where a suspect accused in a deadly hit and run from about a year and a half ago finally appearing in court today. Yeah,
so this arrest came 18 months after a 2023 hit and run out in Melbourne. That is the suspect right there, who you're looking at from behind the view in court. Melbourne police have arrested Takaya Hardy of Palm Bay in connection to the Christmas 2023 hit and run that killed 23-year-old Andrew Sofranco, who was crossing East Strawbridge Avenue. Sofranco had just served as the best man at his father's wedding. It was about 48 hours before he was struck and killed. You just saw a picture of him and his dad. There he is right there, speaking at his father's wedding. Again, this was 48 hours before he was hit and killed. Now, after a pretty lengthy investigation, Hardy is charged with leaving the scene of a crash involving death, and she's currently being held without bond.
Just a heartbreaking case there. We know, we had talked to the father before, and he had talked about, trying to get answers in this, because you mentioned it had been 18 months, and that's a long time,
a very long time. And he spoke with our reporter Hannah McKenzie, and he told her during that course of time he and his wife actually moved down here. They relocated from the Northeast so that they could be closer to the investigation. He told Hannah last night that he is going to make sure that he is at every single court proceeding because he wants justice. And he told her last night as well that he knows that the right thing to do is to forgive, but right now all he can see is hatred when he looked at the mugshot of this woman.
I've accepted what happened and there's nothing I can do to change that, but the best thing I can do now is just do whatever I can do to see that justice is served on his behalf. She had the opportunity to do the right thing, didn't do it, so now I'll let justice and let the legal system do the right thing for her.
And you mentioned him saying, looking at that and seeing only hate. You can only imagine, what it would be like to be in his shoes and, knowing what happened, knowing what she's accused of. And kind of as he said in that soundbite, the fact that the opportunity was there to stop and help. Yeah. And instead deciding to take off.
Yeah. And in our web article on fox35orlando.com, they talk a little bit about the advice that he would be thinking about what he gave his son leading up to his death. One of his son's friends had passed away, and he gave him some very poignant advice, in looking forward and making sure you honor that friend in the life you choose to live moving forward. And that's all he could think about was, let me just make sure that I follow the same advice that I gave him just days before he was taken from me. Yeah.
Story number 3, and this one, another fiery setback for, yeah, I know, crazy,
Oh
isn't
my
it, for
goodness.
Starship? It just one problem after another, and seems like it's something different every time. But this was wild to see.
This was very wild. There was a huge explosion. There it goes. Boom. Right there. Look at that.
I feel it looks like a scene out of like Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I can feel the heat all the way
Yeah.
out here in Florida. I mean, this was a huge explosion that happened in Starbase, Texas, late Wednesday night. Turns out it was SpaceX's Starship that exploded during a routine static fire test at the Texas facility there. The Starship suffered a catastrophic failure and then exploded, which you could see there. No injuries, thankfully, were reported. There is an investigation underway to try to figure out the cause of this incident, to figure out what happened here.
Yeah, what makes this one interesting compared to, I think, the other ones is that this was they called it a static fire test. It was a ground test. It's not
Yeah.
like it was launching.
No.
It wasn't taking off when it happened. It was staying on the ground to do this. And they said that really was probably a good thing, because that means it didn't have as much fuel as it normally would
Good
have. I
point.
mean, imagine that was the blast we saw last night. Imagine what that would have
Oh,
been,
yeah.
if it did that kind of fully fueled and everything for that. So again, wild to see. Obviously, this is going to impact the future,
Right.
kind of tests of this, that they continue trying to work through some of these issues, and obviously continue uncovering more as well. So what's next for SpaceX? I know Fox 35's Esther Bauer spoke with Zach Aubert from the Launchpad Network, and here's what he said about whether SpaceX, really kind of has to start from scratch at this point.
But we also have to start asking the questions. V2 Starships have not had a lot of luck. Since they stretched them, changed the flaps, reworked the avionics, we've yet to have a fully successful Starship. Now, the last one got a lot further along, but it still was nowhere near as successful as the later V1 flights were. So at what point do you cut your losses and jump to V3? They were already starting to do that in the development. So will we see a larger gap and then move to V3 and take what they've learned from V2, or will we see them try to produce another V2 if they're still able to and test that and then move on?
And Elon Musk saying on X last night, calling it just a scratch.
That's it.
That's it. A scratch. I'd hate to see what's more than a scratch if that is
Seriously.
just a scratch. But certainly, you see them trying to work through these issues. Obviously, something we're watching closely here, because there's a lot of talk of bringing Starship operations to Florida Space Coast, which is certainly more populated than that area.
Oh, yeah.
Where they're doing these launches in Texas right now. So certainly a lot could be more impacts.
Yeah. Keep our eye on that one.
Story number 4 today, and that is a number of Juneteenth celebrations today all across Central Florida.
Yes, happy Juneteenth Day, also known as Emancipation Day or Freedom Day. There are celebrations happening all across the country because today commemorates the official end of slavery here in the United States. June 19th, 1865 is when Union soldiers, they got to Galveston to announce the enslaved people were free. But you have to remember, this happened 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation had been issued. Word finally made its way down there. The holiday was first celebrated in Texas, but it was officially recognized as a federal holiday starting in 2021. That was a really big year. So there are several events happening across Central Florida throughout the day. There were some that happened last weekend. There are going to be more happening this upcoming weekend. But one of the big ones is the Orange County Mayor's 2025 Juneteenth celebration, Freedom Forward, Empowerment Through Fitness, Food, and Fun for the Family. That is happening tonight at Barnett Park. We have a crew that's scheduled to go there. We're keeping an eye on the radar because rain could impact plans for some of these events that are outdoor. There are a couple that are also going to be inside. We have the Juneteenth Freedom Day celebration at St. Lawrence AME Church in Eatonville, Dukes and Boots in Eatonville, Juneteenth Hometown Heroes Banquet at Embry-Riddle University, and there are so many others, but we do have a list posted on our website, fox35orlando.com, for all of those upcoming events for people to check out and see which ones they want to attend.
Yeah, because there are so many across our area, and that was one of the things I spoke earlier with a local activist, Russell Drake, who is also the founder and CEO of Build Black Daily. And we talked about kind of the growth of this, specifically since it became federally recognized, and I asked him kind of the importance of that, and he talked a little bit about what these celebrations mean to him.
I really could almost tear up from emotion because it means so many people are still with it. They weren't in it from the moment when they first started to meet holistically in the nation. Almost 5 years ago is when more people started holistically celebrating Juneteenth. In Texas, it had been a big holiday for years, and then it matriculated to cities like Milwaukee and Chicago. But to see Central Florida celebrate in such a grand fashion, it's touching. You see more people that care, and they understand that this is a significance for healing and growth in the nation. So we're headed in the right direction in Central Florida. And salute to all the community advocates out there who may not get the opportunity to be on channels like Fox 35. They're doing the work every day. They're on the ground. They're notifying people. They're awakening their communities, and it's a great thing.
And the other thing, that he was kind of referencing, for a little bit of context with that soundbite there, we were talking about the growth of celebrations here in Central Florida to a number of different communities, because we talked about kind of the, many of the communities here that have a lot of history. Yeah. You think of Eatonville, obviously, but you see celebrations in so many communities now, and that's what he was saying. It's like he loves seeing that spread throughout the region. More and more communities every year, kind of finding their step here with these celebrations.
Yeah, and it's notable to point out that people are doing different things. So maybe if gathering or marching isn't your thing, you may be interested in celebrating with food. You have those options. There's a fashion show that's happening tonight. So there are just so many different ways for people to commemorate the holiday and to celebrate this time that it's really something for everybody out there.
Yeah, that's a good point there. Well, Marlisa, we appreciate you joining us. That is today's Top 4 at 4. We are going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more Fox 35 News Plus after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Laurel Blanchard joins me now. And Laurel, good afternoon to you.
Hey, Garrett, how are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. We're going to talk a little tropics here off the top. Things quiet still here in the Atlantic, still very early in our season. We know they are much further in the season in the Pacific. and landfall of a major hurricane today.
Yeah, big weather news, especially in the eastern Pacific. Luckily for us here in the Atlantic, we are still quiet, but we'll put a pin on that. We'll come back to that in just a few seconds. But overall, we've been tracking Hurricane Eric continuing to build up in the eastern Pacific. It made landfall this morning at about 5:45 local time, so about 8 a.m. our time, with sustained winds of 125 miles per hour. That's a strong Category 3 storm, about 20 miles east of Punta Maldonado, Mexico. So that's what we're going to continue to track as we continue to track Eric. And as we've seen that storm make landfall, it is significantly weakened. But again, as you mentioned, Garrett, the Eastern Pacific season started about a month and a half earlier than what we've seen here in the Atlantic. And they have already been breaking records just within this one storm. It's been a very busy season for them in the Eastern Pacific so far. With this Eric storm, it was the earliest E-named storm in the Eastern Pacific on record. This storm was a powerful one and caused immense flooding across the Mexican coastline. And it was the first major storm to hit Mexico in the month of June on record. So this is a very early storm. And this storm was very powerful as well. It really picked up that strength and actually doubled in strength from a Category 5 to, or excuse me, a Category 2 to a Category 4 within 18 hours. So this was a very quick developing storm is what we were tracking with Eric. And with that now, this storm is significantly weakened once it made landfall and kind of got cut off from that jet fuel of what is that ocean water. Right now sitting at a Category 1 storm from that 2 p.m. update, right now holding 70-mile-per-hour winds, and right now moving up to the northwest at about 12 miles per hour. So going to linger just on the western Mexican coastline as we head through the next couple of days, but slowly starting to weaken and slowly starting to dissipate, and expected to dissipate as we head through the next couple of hours, eventually moving down into a tropical depression. So that's something that we're going to continue to track as we head through the rest of the overnight tonight, because this storm definitely brought a lot of rain and a lot of storm surge, especially along the Guerrero coastline as well as the Oaxacan coastline as well. So that's something that we were keeping track of yesterday as that storm was making landfall into this morning. But for us here in the Atlantic, we're not seeing anything, and that's the good news right there. No activity expected for the next 7 days, and luckily there's no really correlation from a very busy Eastern Pacific season means that there's going to be an Atlantic season. There's no real correlation between that, with the exception of the ocean temperatures, and that's how we get El Nino and La Nina impacting our hurricane season. But overall, right now, no activity expected for the next 7 days. And as of tomorrow, June 20th, that's on average when we normally see that A-named storm, and then it's kind of open season from there. So things slowly getting a little bit more frequent as we kind of approach that peak of our season happening in September.
Yeah, I said this yesterday, and I think that's interesting to look at, because you can kind of see, just the trends of how it's we may average a storm in the first month, average a second named storm in the second month, and then from there things really start to heat up.
But something that I actually do want to mention real quick before we kind of move on from the tropics, last year we were already seeing those storms popping up, because again, last year was an extremely busy season. So forecasts are already holding true. Not as busy as what we were seeing in 2024, however, possibly a little bit closer to those average numbers of about 18 storms per season. So this is something that, again, we haven't even approached that date yet, even though it is tomorrow. That doesn't mean tomorrow we're automatically going to start to see that activity. However, it's something just to kind of keep an eye on as we do approach a little bit later into hurricane season here in the Atlantic.
Yeah, interesting perspective, I think, to look at that. Meanwhile, this weekend, we are getting ready for the longest day of the year.
Yeah, and I'm happy it's happening on a weekend, and also our forecast is looking good as well, so make sure you take advantage of every single minute. Summer solstice actually happens Friday night at 10:42 p.m. That's the official astronomical start of summer. So we're finally in the summer season, even though I feel like here in Central Florida, we're pretty used to the heat and the humidity already, and summer hasn't even started yet. But overall, the summer solstice, again, happening tomorrow night. This is when the Earth axis is actually tilted towards the sun, so all of the sun's light is mainly focused on the northern hemisphere, and that's what's going to create the longest day and the shortest night hour-wise as we take a look at Saturday. So because it's happening from Friday into Saturday, Saturday is going to be the longest day of the year, June 21st. Our sunrise 6:26 in the morning, our sunset 8:26, so that is a whole 14 hours of daylight that you can take advantage of and spend outside on Saturday.
You know we love that sunshine here in the Sunshine State.
Yeah, we do, but also it's summertime. We kind of have to get used to this for sure. Are those storms out there?
Yes, that's a good point. And we've seen some of that this week, but things kind of going to be picking up a little bit.
Picking up a little bit today, but really nothing that we're not used to. We've been kind of spoiled, honestly, for the past couple of days, not seeing as widespread and intense of those afternoon scattered showers and thunderstorms. But as we head through the rest of the afternoon, yes, we will be absolutely seeing that. Here's a look over at Lake Fairview right now. This is actually looking back towards the front of the Girls Lakeside camera. So that's what we're going to continue to watch. You can see those darker clouds really starting to push in, and you can also see some of those darker clouds as well. 83 out there. Port Canaveral, a little bit of a different story at the moment, seeing still those rays of sunshine peeking through those clouds. But as we head through the rest of the evening, those storms really going to start to push eastward as we head through the rest of the overnight tonight. Looking like a severe thunderstorm warning across Flagler County as that storm continues to make its way off the coast, but things very scattered right now. As those sea breeze storms really start to kick into action, this is really going to start to elevate those storms as we head through the rest of the evening. So it's something that we're going to be watching for quite a bit as we head through the rest of the evening, and tomorrow, pretty much a copy and paste. So as we head through the rest of this evening, most of the storms really going to start to bubble up at around 8 p.m. and then quickly dying out after that. So partly cloudy skies through the late overnight tonight. And then taking a look at Friday, again, pretty much a copy and paste of what we are seeing today. Seeing those storms starting to pick up at about 2 p.m., slowly starting to fizzle out between probably 6 and 8 o'clock. So it shouldn't put too much of a damper on your early weekend plans. However, things are going to become a lot more scattered as we take a look at your 7-day forecast. So check it out. Only calling for a 20% chance of rain both Saturday and Sunday, and things looking scattered as we continue to take a look ahead towards the next work week.
Yeah, we're liking the look of that weekend for the first weekend of summer. Take advantage of that daylight, that sunshine, and not too bad.
Yeah, not too bad at all. But seriously, this is nothing new for us here in Central Florida. We've been seeing the 90s, the heat, the humidity, the storms for quite a while. So this is pretty much just another Friday into Saturday for us. But it is a little exciting to say, okay, we are officially in the summer season. It makes sense that we're seeing this summer weather now.
That is true. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Laurel Blanchard, we appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Garrett.
We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. This afternoon, Florida Attorney General James Othmeyer joined John Roberts on Fox News to talk about being held in civil contempt by a federal judge over the enforcement of the state's new immigration law. Here's what the Attorney General had to say.
So the U.S. District Judge, Kathleen Williams, put a hold on a Florida law. It's SB 4C that makes it illegal for an illegal alien to enter the state of Florida. You sent a letter to law enforcement saying, I can't stop you from not following that judge's order. What was the idea behind that letter?
Yeah, well, she wanted me to direct all of our state law enforcement to stand down on enforcing Florida's new state immigration law. And I was not going to do that. No law enforcement agency was even a party before that court. She did not have jurisdiction. I didn't have the authority to do that. So I think she's overstepped her bounds. But if being held in contempt is the price to pay for standing on principle and standing on the law, then so be it.
So she suggested that you were twisting the words in her temporary restraining order to find a little wiggle room in there. Here's what she wrote in her contempt order against you. This is quite lengthy. She wrote, over a century ago, author and sometimes logician Lewis Carroll guided readers through the looking glass. Among the adventures there, we encounter a character who boasts of his mastery of words. When I use a word, Humpty Dumpty said in a rather scornful tone, it means just what I choose it to mean, neither more nor less. The question is, said Alice, whether you can make words mean so many different things. The answer then is now is no. Litigants cannot change the plain meaning of words as it suits them, especially when conveying a court's clear and unambiguous order. So you clearly are Alice and she's Humpty Dumpty.
You know, you see what's happened to the judiciary. So many of these judges across the country that start pushing policy and legislation, and that's not the role of the judiciary. The founders would be rolling over in their graves seeing this. But here's the thing. The federal government, the Trump administration, they've delegated authority to all of our state law enforcement officers to go out and use federal authorities to detain and deport, and we're going to continue to do that. Florida's leading the way. We've got thousands of arrests underway, and we're going to enforce the law.
So in terms of the terms of your contempt, she wants you to be filing bi-weekly orders that she can get a hold of. It says the court will require Othmeyer to coordinate with the state attorney defendants and their law enforcement partners to file bi-weekly reports detailing whether any arrest, detentions, or law enforcement actions pursuant to SB 4C have occurred, and if so, how many, when, and by which law enforcement agency. Are you going to comply with that part of the order?
I will, but the thing is, the state law aside, we have all the authorities we need under federal law. Through the 287G process, every single one of our county sheriffs and state law enforcement officers have been blessed with federal authorities to go out and conduct immigration enforcement. We'll continue to appeal. We believe the state should have its own law for another era where we might have a Biden or Obama administration where there's an open border. A state should be able to protect its sovereignty. So we will appeal the state law case up to the Supreme Court, but for now we'll work with the feds and we'll get the job done.
Which will bring you back to Washington, D.C. at some point in the future, I would think. In terms of the new law that allows local cooperation with the federal authorities, we see so many states, blue states, who are resistant to cooperation with the federal authorities. In terms of apprehending criminal illegal aliens, how has that cooperation worked?
In Florida, it's working very, very well. The sheriffs have been detaining people in the jails. The jails are starting to fill up, so we're going to be needing to look for more detention space. But ICE has been there to pick people up right away. There's seamless coordination up and down. And look, Florida's putting a lot of money where our mouth is. We've invested hundreds of millions of dollars because we see the harm to the state by having illegals there. Just last week, I secured a full life conviction against an illegal immigrant who had violently sexually assaulted a young child, a girl, and trafficked her. This stuff is painful, it's horrific, and it exemplifies why we must fight to help the Trump administration.
So when you see something like the fine report that Bill Malugin just aired, this gang member, convicted murderer, who can't be deported because credible fear that the Biden administration thought that he was going to be tortured if he was returned to El Salvador, what do you think about that?
It's insane. I think this is why the Democrats are losing credibility. It's why people are running to red states like Florida. They want the left wants murderers to be allowed to go run free. We care about their feelings. No, I care about American families, and that's why we'll support the Trump administration to detain, deport, and deliver for the American people.
Mr. Attorney General, thanks for spending time with us. Let us know when you're coming back up for the SCOTUS case.
I'd love it.
Appreciate it.
We'll be right back with more Fox 35 News Plus after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Wymer, and thanks for joining us on this Thursday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. The flood mitigation project in Orlo Vista is coming to a close more than 2 years now after Hurricane Ian hit. Fox 35's Stephanie Buffamonte joins me live now via Zoom. And Stephanie, this has been a long time coming for this project.
It has been. This has been years in the making. They actually started trying to get the funding for this project before Hurricane Ian. So the idea around this project has been here for a very long time. But now they said they're about 95% complete with this project. And it is good news for the residents who live over there, especially as we head into hurricane season. So basically what they did is just a little bit of the background. Orlo Vista. So you see it on the screen there. Those are the 3 retention ponds. There's one on the other side. And those 3 retention ponds, they had excavated, and they made 12 feet deeper than they already were and wider. So now these retention ponds can hold a lot more water than they previously had. They also added this new pump system so that the county can drain the retention ponds before a hurricane or a big storm they know is coming. So that will help, of course, because then they will be empty. And if we have a big storm, like something like Hurricane Ian, those retention ponds can already hold even more water. So it's good news for those residents because Hurricane Irma in 2017 and Hurricane Ian in 2022, there were people there who lived there who had to be evacuated from their homes by boat or by one of those big like National Guard trucks that you see in the hurricanes when people have to be rescued. So obviously it's very upsetting for residents who live over there who have seen these issues before with major flooding in their homes.
And so I would imagine these neighbors then are excited that this is just about finished.
Yeah, so we spoke with one resident today who has lived in Orlo Vista for 34 years. So he's been there for a long time. He had to be evacuated rescued from his home, really, in 2017 during Irma and then again for Ian. And he said he's very much looking forward to this. He did add that he hopes that the county has some kind of backup plan not backup plan, but he would like to see them clean the storm drains and do all of those things as well, which we know that they do before the hurricanes come. So people, I think, are still a little on edge. But he said in our interview today that he, is so thankful for this project that it makes him feel a lot better going into this next hurricane season, and that all of the residents there had been wanting this for a very long time, and they're glad to see it is now almost complete, years in the making now.
Yeah, from the county's perspective, is this a solution? Should this completely prevent what we have seen there in the past, or could we still see issues there?
No, they're saying that this new system can protect homes from a 100-year storm event.
Wow.
And they were telling me that typically when they have like retention ponds and other systems in place, that is usually for a 50 to 60-year storm event. So if this is for a 100-year storm event, this is able to hold a lot more water. So these retention ponds can now hold 3 times the amount of water than they had previously. So they're saying that they think this is going to work. And of course, not an exact comparison, but Hurricane Milton, when that happened, they said that proved to them that this new system works, because it wasn't even totally done, but it kind of was all in place, like the idea of this and the project itself had been, toward the later stages. So they said Hurricane Milton did not flood the Orlo Vista area, so that kind of proved to them that the system they have in place works.
Well, let's hope we never have to test it out any further than that. But certainly nice for those folks who live there to know it's there, and certainly hope it does make a difference. Fox 35 says Stephanie Buffamonte, we appreciate you joining us on Fox 35 News Plus.
Thank you, Garrett.
We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Night has fallen in Jerusalem, where the conflict in the Middle East between Israel and Iran continues to escalate. Meanwhile, earlier today, the first flight from rescuing hundreds of Jewish Americans fleeing Israel arrived in Tampa. I can give you a live look right now as they're awaiting the arrival of another flight there shortly. These are flights that were planned by Governor Ron DeSantis, the Florida Department of Emergency Management, that is helping as well alongside a nonprofit called Gray Bull Rescue. Brian Stern, who is the chairman and founder of that group, spoke earlier today about the process of getting these folks out of Israel and back to the United States. He says they've really been working around the clock for the last 48 hours to coordinate these rescues.
We're at over 4,000, flirting with 5,000 right now. We'll probably be at 6,000, and I would bet by Saturday. Also important, the Jewish Sabbath is coming Friday, this Friday night. So from an operational perspective, we can't, for religious people, getting them into the mousetrap and out the other side can't really happen well. It can be done, but it can't happen well on the Sabbath. So we're during the Sabbath time, we're going to rescue people who are not observant, who are not restricted, if you will, by the tradition of the Jewish Sabbath. We have buses, we have airplanes, we have boat maritime options, which remain solid. The team, my Grable has been in the region for over a year, in and out, on and off throughout all these countries. So our relationships here are extremely solid that allow us to do things that are frankly very hard to do. It's not war zone Uber. It's not war zone Uber at all. Our good friends from the state of Florida are backing us up. We're partnered with Governor DeSantis, and the Florida Department of Emergency Management, who are awesome. My really good friend, Senator Jay Collins, is out here actually with us, fully embedded in our team. We're literally in the same room for most hours that we're doing stuff. There's not a light of day between us and the state of Florida and the governor's office, which is awesome because the values that Governor DeSantis holds dear are identical to our core values at Gray Bull Rescue, where it's not a political thing, it's not a military thing even, it's an American thing. And saving American lives is saving American lives. And Governor DeSantis is completely and totally aligned with us as far as that's the most important thing. And that's why we're out here, is to save American lives. Many people are concerned. Many people are scared, is what I'll say. They're very trepidatious about everything. Nobody wakes up and hopes to be rescued. Nobody wakes up and wants to flee a place that was peaceful and nice and go through a whole rigmarole and have their trips upset, or their study abroad programs messed up, or vacation plans, or even just their lives for the expats that live here, who are Americans that happen to live in Israel. So what happens is things go wrong and people panic and they need to get out. And what they do is they call pretty much everyone that they've ever met. That's usually what happens. So in that process, somehow, some way, you find yourself usually Googling or using social media or regular media, and they find us. In this case, there's two ways to register for us. One is on the Florida Department of Emergency Management website. There's a Israel Rescue portal. If you click that link, that's Gray Bull. The other way is just come to our website directly, graybullrescue.org. That's our website. That's where you can go to ask for help. That's also where you can go to give help. And boy, do we need it. We need donations real bad. This stuff is expensive. Once somebody registers a case manager, we have a team of volunteer case managers who we'll make contact with the families, very often if it's a kid on a study abroad thing. We'll talk to the parents who are in America and also talk to the kid who's in Israel. And the big thing that we're trying to understand is who are they, what are they, and where are they? It's really hard to rescue someone when you don't know where they are. So we'll geolocate where they're at, send either teams, we either send teams to go get them, or if it's safe enough, we tell them, come to us at an established rally point, depending on who they are and what they are, the threat condition, the risk profile. So they get on buses, and either they're driven to the port where we take a boat to Cyprus, or they're driven to Amman, where we go to the airport, get on a plane and fly. Oh my God, I can't stop yawning. At that point, once they're out of the hot zone, their path to survival and safety has increased dramatically. We stop in either Cyprus or Jordan or whatever the country will be. We make sure to enter that country legally, always legally. Grable Rescue does not break laws, ever, ever, ever. We come to that country legally, get visas at the border, almost always, and cross the border by foot and go and get onto more buses that take us to an airplane or to a port, to a seaport. We manifest again, and then from there, we fly to America.
Have the 4 flights chartered by Governor DeSantis taken off as planned, and what are their scheduled ETAs?
I don't know about all the flights scheduled by Governor DeSantis. I know about the flights that we've worked with Governor DeSantis. Those have all been successful. We're waiting on one more. Which is imminent. And then we have a series of other ones right behind it. So I don't know about every single flight that Governor DeSantis has supported. I know that there are many. Hold on one second. Phones are exploding here. Bear with me. I know that Governor DeSantis has been generous enough and has also enabled the Florida Department of Emergency Management to support a number of initiatives. The main effort is through us, but there are other ones as well. The birthright boat and the birthright planes is a good example of that. We didn't really have much of a role in that other than supporting where we could, but that was largely, that was not a Grable rescue operation per se. The other flights that we've done a few flights out of from Jordan and also Cyprus. Those were Grable rescue organized and managed and funded and supported by Governor DeSantis.
Thank you. I know Senator Collins is with you and has been with you on the ground, and was expected to join today's conference. I know that he gets pulled in many directions, so just wanted to see if you have any words about Senator Collins.
Yeah, Jay is a really good friend. We're in the same Purple Heart chapter in Tampa. He's my state senator. I'm from Tampa. He's from Tampa. I always like to joke, for a politician, he's a really good Green Beret, Jay's out here again because his values align directly and squarely with our values. Jay Collins has supported us for dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of missions, many of them, all through the hurricanes, all through Hurricane Ian, all through Hurricane Adelia, Milton and Helene, different things that we've done. He's an Afghan vet. When my team and I started in August 2021, Senator Collins and I were collaborating on getting some folks out that were affiliated with him many years ago already. That was 731 missions ago for us. So for perspective, Senator Collins has been supporting us one way or the other for 731 missions and almost 8,000 people. By the time this conflict is over, or Grable Rescue's involvement in this conflict is over, we'll be at over 8,000 lives saved.
Again, another flight expected here shortly. We're going to take a break on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. We are continuing to track the potential sale of the Tampa Bay Rays and also what it means for the Orlando Dreamers. They said in a statement today this does not come as a surprise to them. They even said it does not complicate what they are trying to do. Earlier today, I spoke with J.P. Peterson, who's the host of the J.P. Peterson Show on FanStream Sports. And he broke down what's happening and what happens next.
We broke a similar story about 4 months ago about a local group here of Tampa Bay investors that were in deep discussions already. We're the favored group by Major League Baseball, and we're working out a deal with Stu Sternberg. And this finally broke yesterday. Sportico broke the story as to the new lead investor, which is Patrick Zalupski from Jacksonville, who has a ton of Tampa Bay ties here. He has emerged as, I guess, the managing general partner in a conglomerate that includes a lot of local Tampa Bay investors. And as expected, sorry to the folks in Orlando, I've been trying to tell you this for a while. I've told you this on the show, that the Rays are not moving to Orlando. They're going to stay in Tampa Bay, and more specifically on the Tampa side, in my opinion. That's where they have been talking with Stu Sternberg and Major League Baseball. And the reason Major League Baseball favors them is because they know they can get a deal done in Tampa. So that was it wasn't a surprise to me. Maybe who was emerged as the managing general partner was a bit of a surprise. I knew his name was part of this group, but I wasn't sure if who was going to be the lead investor. And now we know.
Why do you think staying on the Tampa side, why do you think that makes sense at this time?
Well, I think because of the marketplace. It's the 11th largest market. They've built up 28 years of fan loyalty here. And I know people just simply look at attendance, and on the surface, it looks like the market doesn't support the Rays, but nothing could be further from the truth. I've covered this team since their birth, and I know the passion that exists for baseball in this marketplace. They've just done it all wrong. They've been in a failed location in St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg, beautiful place, awesome place, but not a place for a baseball stadium. It's on the edge of the market. There's only 600,000 fans within a 30-minute drive, which is well short of what Major League Baseball uses as their rule and guide. In downtown Tampa, there's 2.4 million people within a 30-minute drive. So it's always been the spot that Major League Baseball wanted the team to be. And these owners have the deep pockets and the relationships here in Hillsborough County to get the job done. Ken Hagan said yesterday and has said on my show, he's chairman of the Hillsborough County Commission, that he knows this group. We've talked about it, and there's 100% chance they can get a deal done in Tampa. So contrary to popular belief, there is money here. You just need a willing owner. It's never been Tampa's fault. It's never been St. Pete's fault. It's always been Stu Sternberg's fault. He's been the impediment. Major League Baseball now understands that. They're forcing him to sell the team to a group that can get the stadium done in Tampa, and that's my expectation it will happen.
I thought it was surprising to see a statement from the Rays, officially kind of confirming this. That's not something that you often see in discussions like this.
Well, again, the Rays aren't running this deal. The Major League Baseball is running this deal. They have given Stu Sternberg every opportunity to build a stadium on either side of the bay. He's walked away from 2 deals, and the St. Petersburg deal was a huge boondoggle, and he still walked away. So yeah, they they really don't have much choice. I mean, we've talked about this before. He was boxed in. They weren't going to work with him in Tampa. They weren't going to work with him in St. Pete. Nobody trusts him anymore. So and Major League Baseball threatened to take his revenue sharing away. So he had no out at this point. He's burned every bridge. And so Major League Baseball is basically running this deal and said, this is the group that's going to buy the team. Please exit to stage left. Thank you.
The walls, I mean, really, like the walls had kind of closed in on him to the point where there was really nowhere else to go.
Right. Yeah. And we've talked about this, that this was inevitable and this group was going to buy the team. And, I know the good folks in Orlando are very excited about this, and the Rays and expansion is still very much an option. And that's why I think the Orlando Dreamers have gone out of their way to say, hey, this is not just about the Rays, because they knew where Major League Baseball's head is. Now, was there an opportunity if everything fell apart in Tampa to get the Rays? Absolutely. But that was down the road. So I think losing the Rays probably, I don't think Major League Baseball wants two baseball teams within 90 miles of them. So, my feeling is it's going to be Tampa, and Orlando's probably not going to get a baseball team. That's my opinion.
Any idea where do you think? I know there's been some talk about stadium, potential stadium locations for this Rays team in kind of the Tampa area, whether it's Ybor, whether it's Tampa, just different kind of areas. What do you think makes the most sense? Now that it does seem that the things are staying on the Tampa side.
Well, I think it all has to do with the bigger plan. And I think Zalewski is a home developer, Dreamfinders Homes. This group in general includes a lot of big money real estate people. So they see the opportunity in Tampa to build a mixed-use project, which all these other stadium are being attached to, bars, restaurants, condominiums. And real estate is really the key here in Tampa Bay, because you can sell condos, 2-3 bedroom condos for $1 million now here in Tampa Bay. So that being part of it, the baseball is a small piece, right? It brings the velocity of cash. It brings the people to a certain area at least 81 times a year, plus playoffs, plus tournaments, plus concerts, all that stuff. So they see it as an anchor of a real estate deal. So I think, next to Ray J is a possibility in some type of conglomerations with the Glazers, who are also interested in building a mixed-use project around that stadium. Ybor City is still an option. There's still a couple parcels in Ybor City. There's now an emerging parcel north of Ybor City, just off of 275, about a mile from downtown Tampa, that used to be an old dog track, and also has some riverfront access as well, in an emerging part of downtown Tampa. So that could also be a spot. And I think the fairgrounds. Zalewski is very good friends with Ron DeSantis. DeSantis appointed him to the Board of Trustees at the University of Florida. So that is state-owned land. That could be a possibility as well. It's a big parcel and would be, obviously, for the folks in Orlando, much more accessible. And I think that's what Major League Baseball wants. They want to connect both of these, the 15th largest market in Orlando and the 11th largest market in Tampa, connect them both, and it'd be a huge success. And I think that's their vision. So I think the fairgrounds would also be in play as well.
Be a little bit closer for folks coming from Orlando, at least. Here's a live look and a thumbs up from the Thunder truck as they're heading east toward I-95. We've seen some raindrops there in the last little bit, but I don't see any precipitation at the moment. But we are certainly tracking those storms that Laurel was telling us about to watch out for. That's going to do it for us here on Fox 35 News Plus this afternoon. We're going to go ahead and send things out to Studio B for the start of Fox 35 News at 5. Which begins next. Fox 35's Maria Ettinger, Fox 35's Randy Hildreth, Stephanie Buffamonte, all getting ready for live shots right now in your newscast, which begins in just seconds right here on Fox Local. So keep it here. We'll be back here at 11 a.m. with more Fox 35 News Plus. Thanks.
Right now on Fox 35 News at 5.
Whoa!